And I also want to thank the budding engineers of the future of India for making me stand here and address you. Many people always say that India is a country of plenty. It has a problem of plenty. So there are many visitors who come and visit our company, not only the current one, the previous companies. And whenever they come into India, they come to Bangalore, they say that your traffic is too much. And then they go to some other country and say there are too many people on the queue. They say that there are too many things everywhere. Now, if that is really the case, just think about one thing. India is the only country that has been invaded and has been used and has been continued to be the target for many businesses world over. Not just today, starting from a few thousand years ago. People come into India. If we are a problem of plenty, if we are a problem country, why should they come to us? Actually, I believe that India is not a problem country, but it's an opportunity country. Just to give a small example, in Bangalore, I repeat, in Bangalore, there are about 25,000 software companies. Every multinational company which has an office either in Europe or in US has a branch in Bangalore. Every company, I can tell you that if you take HP, IBM, every company has an office in Bangalore. Not only just Bangalore, now it's Chennai, it's Hyderabad, it's Delhi, Mumbai. If that's the case, why should they come to India? There is definitely something with us, not with the country. There is something with us, all of you, maybe previous generation, us and Dr. Chairman here, but all of you. So all of you have something in you. So they are coming to us to get something from you. Don't think that you are getting a job from them. Actually, it's the other way around. They come to you to get something from you, not the other way around. As a starting point, I think we should be proud of India, proud of all of us, proud of Indians, and proud of great Mr. Vishweswaraya. Okay? Now, though it's big, we have lots of opportunities. You know what they call India as? They say that small is big. Just as an example, in US, one telephone call will probably cost you $1. 1 minute of telephone cost is 60 rupees or 65 rupees today. Just imagine in India. It cannot be 65 rupees ever, maybe another 100 years, but just now it may be 1 rupees, 2 rupees, etc. I'm talking about local calls. I'm not talking about international calls. So, Vodafone, which charges 60 rupees in the US, is willing to come to India and charge you only 1 rupee. Are they undergoing a loss? Actually, no. In US, the reality is they make 59 rupees margin, whereas in India, they make a margin of maybe 50 paisa. Look at the difference. But still, Vodafone comes to India, still you have a Vodafone connection, and they still make profit. So India is not a country of problems. It's actually a country of, the definition, the term will be small is big. Anything you start small, you can definitely make big in India. Couple of other examples. Do you know that India has the second largest number of telephones? As of April 2015, India has 1.09 billion mobile phones. Just imagine, our population is 1.12 billion, but we have telephones, mobile numbers particularly 1.09 billion. We are close to 95% or 96% telephone connections. Of course, we are the second. China is number one, obviously. They have actually for every individual 1.5 telephones. That means everybody that you see on the street will have probably one mobile in the right pocket and one mobile in the left pocket. Perhaps. But the bottom line, what you see is, in India, because you have 1 billion mobile phones, the amount of money these mobile companies make by coming to India is so much that they don't bother reducing the telephone cost from 60 rupees or $1 to maybe 1 rupee or perhaps 1.5 rupees. So we have the opportunities, we have the enablers. However, the domestic scenario, I'm sure Dr. Chairman and a few others have spoken about it already. We do have challenges. The challenges we have, A, infrastructure, and B, maybe the problem of plenty. So NASSCOM, our National Association for Commerce and Industries, NASSCOM estimates that every year we have about 25% employment. Just as an example, there are about 15,000 colleges, engineering institutions in India which generate engineers. And totally there are about 3.1 million graduates and also maybe 350,000 or 3.5 lakh engineers come. Now out of these 3.5 lakh engineers who come out of colleges in India, just imagine only 25 to 30% they claim as employable. However, I don't believe that is the case. As you saw today about TCS, it is not 25%, it's a lot more. So the key question for you is A, we have opportunities, B, you have the knowledge, C, you have the talent, but still we are worried about jobs when you come out of college. You are still worried about what do I do, how do I get a job when I come out of college. I think that's a problem that others will not help you solve, but only you have to solve yourself. I'll give you some examples. In my own company, we select roughly about 100 people a year. We are about 1,500 people today worldwide. In our company, if we take 100 resumes, eventually we take about 10 people or 15 people. In rare occasions, maybe 25. Right? So the question again is, what is the process that we follow to take 100 resumes and identify 10 people? Ideally speaking, if you are applying for our company, you should figure out how do I make myself as one of the 15 or 25, right? That's your basic problem, isn't it? So let's talk next few minutes about how you make yourself employable. In other words, how do you make yourself the cream? You have the knowledge, you have the talent, but still you don't get selected. So what do you need to do to figure out how you get selected is the basic challenge for most of the engineers. Mind you, I was also an engineer once upon a time, and now I'm a manager, but I still went through the same problems. Maybe what I will share today with you is the problems that I had and how we try to overcome it. I think that will be the key essence for engineering challenges for today. So, in Bangalore, there are lots of schools. Lots of schools are there, and unlike colleges, admission to schools is difficult. I know one particular school where they charge a few tons of rupees, you don't count, you only weigh, right? A few tons of rupees they charge you for school admission. And on the day they issue the application form for LKG, I'll underline LKG, right? For LKG, they charge you for the application form 250 rupees, and within 1 hour, 1 lakh applications go away. 1 lakh applications are sold. And just imagine, the school picks up only 250 students every year. 250 students, the problem is 1 lakh application. How does the principal solve the problem? Once upon a time, the principal used to be my friend, so I went and talked to him. Sir, how do you do this? I'm in an engineering field, and he's a principal of a college and a school, and he has to solve the problem of how do I shortlist 1 lakh to 250? I'm not sure you have the same problem here, but really speaking, how does the principal shortlist from 1 lakh to 250? So what the principal does is he first starts off saying, okay, if you don't live in the area, you don't get selected. Now, is that got anything to do with your talent? Nothing. Nothing, absolutely nothing. If you don't live in the area, you don't get selected. Then the second criteria he told me was, both the parents should be educated, but the wife cannot work. Is that anything to do with you? No, this is an LKG student. So he's expecting both parents to be educated and the wife should not be educated. I asked him, sir, why the wife should not be educated? So the answer he gave me was very funny. He said, if the student doesn't know, then the mother has to teach or the father has to teach on rare occasions. So one of them should not go to work. Then I ask them, what are the teachers doing? Right? So there are lots of criteria which are sometimes not relevant. Why am I saying this example? There are a lot of criteria that are not relevant for shortlisting, but they have to do something, right? How else will they filter 1 lakh to 250? Then it goes on by saying that if one of the parents, happens to be a teacher in the school, then you get priority. Then if your sibling is in the school, you get priority. They do some criteria, some conditions to throw away resumes they may not have even opened. They may not even look at the application form, they just throw away. Then they say the parent's salary, the father's salary or mother's salary should be at least 50 lakhs per year. Then they say that the father or mother should be at least a vice president or a general manager in the company. All these conditions are there. Believe me, they don't really care about the intelligence of the LKG student. They have an interview for the parents asking them technical questions, but nothing to the student. But somehow the shortlisting happens. I will tell you that in IT industry at least, it may not be that bad. It may not be that bad. We really have a proper process for shortlisting students. Then the question is, how do we shortlist? I'm sure all of you have started writing resumes for your next job, for your first job, right? So I can tell you, if you pull out, keep 10 resumes side by side, I can tell you one thing very, very common in all these resumes. Every resume will have Java, every resume will have C, every resume will have C++, every resume will have Oracle, every resume will have the standard cut and paste technical terminologies on the resume. Now, what is my problem? How do I know whether your Java is really Java or something else? How do I really know that you have really learned Java or not? So, in a typical situation, when I get 100 resumes, often if I see the keywords like Java, C, C++, etc., I will immediately mark that resume or mental marking of that resume as, okay, let's consider him, but he is no different from the rest of the 100. Remember, what was our problem? Your problem was, how do you make yourself eligible to be the 25% of the 100 resumes? That's all your problem, right? So, if you put the standard keywords, then you don't get any special credit. You don't get any special credit if you're putting a standard keyword in your resume. I'm not saying you don't put, I'm saying that because you put it, you don't get extra marks, no bonus points for putting those standard things. So what are the other things that you should put in your resume or that you should show when you are being hired? I think that's critical, right? Many people forget on their resume their soft skills. The real differentiator is not your technical skills. The real differentiator are actually three things that we really look for. The one is fundamentals. Do you know the fundamentals? Do you know how certain things basically work? We don't really care if you know the Java syntax, whether semicolon should be there or not. We don't really care. We often don't test you on the Java syntax, but we do test you on your fundamentals. So, if you're not good in fundamentals, I can be absolutely sure that you will not be selected, irrespective of what marks you are obtaining. The second criteria that we use is we have to put some borderline. So often we say that, you should at least have 70%. So last week I was speaking in a different college where one student asked, I have 65%, will you select me? So I have 65%, will you select me? The answer I told that person, I will repeat it here. If your other things are good, I don't mind if you're short by 5%. If you're 65%, I will ensure that your rest of the things are good. Otherwise, your resume will be probably put in an archive for a later use or perhaps for never use. Okay? So, what are the other criteria that you will look about for hiring? These days, people forget the fundamentals. I can give you one very simple example. This happened in my office last week, so don't quote me again somewhere else, but this happened in my office last week. We are developing a new product, and in the product, it's about a telecom product, and in the product we have to have a screen where we ask for the customer's name. So there are 3 small windows where you enter, you can't enter actually, pull down menu, Mr. or Mrs. And then you type your name, and then in the 3rd column there is another pull down menu, male or female. Now, one customer walks in and we are showing the demo to him, and when we show the demo, just imagine this, be careful how we are still not thinking properly. When we are showing the screen, the customer pulls the menu and selects Mr. Normally, very basic common sense will tell you that as soon as I pull Mr. on the 3rd column, you will immediately lock down male. Unfortunately, one of my developers said, "Sir, it's okay for you to have Mr. but female here." Is it practical? Is it sensible? Is it actually basically you're not using the common sense? When you have Mr. in this column, you should immediately change this to male. When you have Mrs. in this column or Miss in this column, you should immediately change this to female. That guy is an extremely intelligent guy. He is very knowledgeable. Be dependent on him. However, sometimes basics are missed. When you are thinking too much sometimes, you miss the basics. So my advice to you, whenever you talk in interviews, whenever you speak, forget high funda terms. Forget all those, jazzy, fancy terms. Use simple English, straightforward English, simple communication, make things simple. That's one sure way to make sure that your own thought process is clear. Okay? If you look at the 20th century, as like Sir mentioned, in 20th century the technology was more on infrastructure. Planes were discovered, rockets, then submarines, nuclear power. It was more focused on infrastructure. He did rightly point out that in the 21st century, the only thing that is being developed, the top few inventions in this century are considered as Skype, WhatsApp, etc. They are all only computer applications. Nobody bothers about anything. The problem here is that you think so much about applications that you forget the fundamentals. You don't even know what is hardware. So if I were you, I would ensure that my hardware fundamentals are correct. Not necessarily, do I know Java, can I do a few things this way, that way. But you are expected to know some basics of hardware. People get confused between bits and bytes. They mix up numbers, they mix up zeta and... how many of you know what is zeta? Zeta byte, what is it? Anybody knows? Anybody from the crowd? What is a zeta byte? A zeta byte is 10 power 21. Okay? These days we all talk about technology called big data, cloud, etc. Big data only talks about 10 power 21 and above. So we are all now getting into a technical world where only applications are focused, but when we shortlist people for the jobs, we really don't know or don't care whether you know Skype or whether you know WhatsApp. I think my grandmother still knows how to use WhatsApp. So you don't get credit for it. What I expect you to know is basics, fundamentals, mostly of technology and particularly hardwares and some amount of embedded systems. Because if you're strong in your fundamentals, we know that when I train you, when I invest my money in you to develop for me, you will be successful. If you don't have the fundamentals, then the chances are often you do not get things done. And a couple of other things on how you work. Your discipline is very important. You must work in a teamwork. Often people say that English communication is very important. I beg to differ with many of them. By the way, till my PUC, my 12th standard, I actually studied Tamil medium. Only after that my BSc was in English medium. Until then, I studied only Tamil medium. So I never for a minute felt that English was absolutely important. But thanks go to some of the teachers like the people sitting here. During 8th standard, when I was in a Tamil medium school, there was one teacher who always taught us mathematics in English. And one day we all went and complained to him saying, "Sir, we don't understand maths." So that day he was actually teaching polynomial equations. 1x plus 2y equal to 10, 2x plus 2y equal to 15, find the x and y. We had no idea. There were other people who raised their hands. So the teacher said, half the people who knew, please learn it from the other half you don't know. So that's not what we expected. So he stopped the whole class and he said, don't worry if you don't know what is x and y. I'll give you a different example, you will solve it yourself. He actually was addressing some other people like us. So he said, 1 idli plus 1 dosa is 20 rupees. 1 idli plus 2 dosa is 30 rupees. Find the price of idli and dosa. And we were able to do it. Now, when I say x and y, you don't know. But when I say idli and dosa, you are able to know it. So is the problem language or your idli and dosa or you? Definitely the problem is not with English. The problem is not with even differential equations or polynomial equations. The problem is your attitude to learning fundamentals. So if I say idli and dosa, you are able to say it and you will also think how tasty is this idli if it's giving only for 5 rupees. Right? So suddenly your problem is one of idli and dosa, not x and y, you are able to do it. So I don't believe that English is the problem. It helps you definitely, it helps you speak well, it helps you manage as customers, but you can actually speak simple, easy English without using complicated sentences. You can still succeed in all interviews. Don't think that because you don't know English, you can't succeed in an interview. That's actually the opposite. In fact, at least in my company, I know some people who can't speak very well, but I know that when I give the job to him, he will deliver. What's important for me is not your English. What's important for me is can you deliver quality software for me or not? I'm sure that's the same with every other industry, not necessarily only software. Speaking of quality, I will tell you one small joke which used to happen. So there was one exam in one of our class days where we had a maths exam. We were all it was an objective question, choose the correct answer. 1, 2, 3, 4 choices was there. So all we had to do was work out on the background and then put the right tick mark. So there was one student who asked, kept on asking once in 5 minutes one new paper, new fresh additional sheet, what you call. So it came to such an extent that this student probably asked about 50 additional sheets for a choose the correct answer question. So the teacher was very frustrated because he didn't have any extra additional paper to give him. So he went and asked him, what the hell are you doing? And the student responds, जहाँ quality नहीं होता है, वहाँ quantity होता है. So he doesn't know the answer, so he starts bluffing. So in many interviews, what I have seen is that people when they don't know the answer, there is something that prevents them from giving the answer, sorry, I do not know. They start bluffing. That is when sometimes interviews get dragged, sometimes you get pulled down, sometimes you might have done the first 90% perfectly, but the last 10% became the 90% imperfectly. So please do not try such stunts in interviews. Be simple, straight English. Communication is not a problem. Focus on your fundamentals. Make sure that you know the right answer. If not, you can say at least, sometimes you don't know. You can even say, sir, can I try this answer? They will give you a point for you trying, point for you being positive, point for you making attempt to solve the problem. Instead, you start bluffing. There is no way to go through an interview. Okay? And lastly, with this I will stop my short speech. I don't know whether it's short or not. Lastly, many students, after the interview is over, they don't know whether they are shortlisted or not. They will ask the interviewer, sir, what salary will I get? We don't like that answer. Because we have come with already a known package. We have already come with a standard package for everybody whom we are going to shortlist. So if you are shortlisted, you will definitely know your package. Why are you worried about before crossing the well itself? You're trying to find out, how the land looks on the other side. First you cross the well. Don't worry about asking such questions. Please stay away from such questions. Focus on your interview. Get things done. Simple. Focus on your fundamentals. And lastly, probably a small tip to the college, not to the students. I am in the board of a couple of other colleges and universities for syllabus. I give them inputs on how the syllabus should be conducted. My request to this college is, I don't know if it has been done or not, starting from the second year of engineering, please do not have any course without practical classes. Please, theory should stop with the first year. In the second year, it should be, like Sir said, the difference between science and engineering. The first year is usually science. Second, third, fourth year is not science, but engineering. You must apply.